But we were just drawn together today to talk about some of the challenges that we face as entrepreneurs. As you know, it can be a very isolating and lonely journey as we're building our business, and that is why support and both of us have coaches and mastermind groups, and all of that is so helpful. So we're going to be talking about a couple of different things today that I think is really going to provide a sense of relief, and to know that you're not alone in whatever you're going through in your business, no matter whether you're just starting a business or you're more advanced. It doesn't matter. We all go through the same thing. So I will just allow this beautiful human being to share a little bit about herself, and then we'll go into some of these topics. So go ahead, Brittany.
Well, it's super nice to be here. Christina and I connected, like she said, probably about maybe 2 weeks ago now. So I'm Brittany Hoffmann Eubanks. I am the founder and CEO of Banner Medical, which is a...
Hi, and there's
Hi,
my dog.
Penny.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'm the founder and CEO of Banner Medical, which is a medical communications company. I'm also a pharmacist as well, and have been working with my team of pharmacists for, the last couple of years. I started as a freelance medical writer and then transitioned into the CEO role now. We do lots of continuing medical education and help just a variety of clients with various medical writing deliverables. It's a lot of fun. We get to help people make better health decisions, clinicians, healthcare providers make better choices for their patients. So that's what I do now, in addition to being a pharmacist in the community setting as well.
Yeah, and you have an upcoming course that you were talking about. If you could just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks. So I have a course called Medical Writing Mastery. It's specifically designed for pharmacists to help them get started with medical writing. And we are actually revamping the course and making some upgrades and some changes from the first one that we offered last year. So it's super exciting, being able to help pharmacists leverage their skill sets beyond the traditional boxes. And pharmacists are capable of just amazing things, and there really isn't anything out there that we can't do. So this is just another opportunity to help people find something different in a non-traditional role that they like doing.
I love that. And that's really the topic today, is stepping off the beaten path. And I love talking to visionary women that are doing non-traditional roles, in pharmacy, and creating different paths for what it is that how they feel they can use their gifts. So whether it's writing or speaking or whatever medium that is, I think it's so important to be around people like yourself that think outside the box, that challenge the status quo, that are really pioneering for pharmacists to have different options. So I'm so sorry. Let me just put my dog down, and then I'm going to be fully present with this conversation. Here is my dog, by the way. You can't not love this face, but she's very loud. Okay. All right. Let's sit. Okay. So diving into this conversation. So I want to just bring up the fact that Brittany was so nice to me, because all of you probably saw in the group I had posted whatever it was a couple weeks ago about how I was getting a lot of flack from different people in the pharmacy community around not only what I'm doing and how I'm showing up in my methods, but someone was like, oh, your retreat is too expensive or whatever. And I'm like, okay, we get that. The more that you shine, the more judgment can happen, and it's hurtful still. And so it was so just relieving and so kind of you to reach out, and just Brittany sent me a message, and she was just like, I love what you're doing, it was just a very encouraging message. And I think we all need that, because we do have these blocks and these things that come up, not only from the internal environment, but from other people. And so how do you navigate being judged and having haters out there that say different comments? How do you anchor back into yourself and your why and your magic of what you're doing? So I just really appreciated that, and that's why we're having this conversation. So I think it's, in a way, it was a gift, But I don't know if you have any words of wisdom around that you want to.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's really important, particularly as women, to just make sure that we are lifting each other up whenever possible. We already know that it's, difficult, and especially being women in STEM fields, we're underrepresented. And so I think anytime you have that opportunity to do that, it's important. And also, you and I talked quite a bit about how just being an entrepreneur can feel very isolating, because it's running the show and doing everything in most cases with your business. You may have other, people that are helping you, like I have an assistant, I know you do, as well. But still, you're the one that's responsible for everything. So I think for me, reaching out to Christina was really just about, seeing someone that was maybe having a difficult moment and recognizing that I've been there, I've felt that way. And just letting them know that, hey, you know what, I see you, and you don't have to, worry, you don't have to, feel like you're not doing a good job. In fact, I think I remember telling you that those weren't your people.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to remember that when you're getting individuals that just maybe aren't feeling your message, or have pushback, or a difference of opinion, that's fine. They're just not the person or the client that's meant for you, for whatever your service or your business happens to be. And so we want to seek out those people that are the perfect clients for us, and that have that match. And so sometimes it doesn't happen, but I feel like, at least from my perspective, the thing that I try to do is just remember that, at the end of the day, like, I have a valuable skill set. And because of that, there are, other people out there that love, what we're doing. They're appreciative of it. And so when those difficult moments happen, it's usually more about what that person is going through versus necessarily something specific about me or what I did.
Right.
And just trying to ground myself in that versus just kind of going down the rabbit hole, because I'm very much a wear my heart on my sleeve kind of person too. So those things can be very hurtful and you can internalize them, but you want to try to avoid that if possible, and just kind of remind yourself why it's actually happening.
Right. And I think that can be because it feels so personal at the time when someone's saying something hurtful, or when they're commenting, and I'm the same way. I put my heart and soul into my business. So when someone comes at me with a negative comment, or, that in that specific post, it was that someone thought I was like a Scientologist or some crap like that. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. But that's not my job to convince them, and they're just not my person. And I think that it can feel so personal at times, when I know that a lot of us have the fear of being seen because we're afraid of being judged. So how do you begin to have the internal conversation with yourself to know that, okay, that person's in pain because obviously they have to spend the time to knock someone else down. So there's all of these little nuanced things that I think come into play to help, like you said, get yourself onto a better path than going down a spiral of like, oh my God, they said this and that. And it's easy to go down that path too. So how do we just pause in the moment, reflect on the source and where it's coming from, and then keep going and anchor in to, like you said, the fact that you have a valuable skill set, that you have things to give. I think that that's so important to just keep in mind. So I love that. And I appreciate you reaching out, because it is hurtful. And especially like that week, it was like, boom, 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 like all these comments, but it's because I feel the brighter you shine your light, it's going to reflect things back in other people that they feel insecure about. So if I'm showing up and doing X, Y, and Z and writing a book and doing certain things, that might be a trigger for people. And that's not my stuff. So I think it's having those clear boundaries in your mind of like, okay, what is my stuff? What is their stuff? And where is this coming from?
Yeah, so, absolutely. I just add, you said boundaries, and that just really stuck for me ever. And so I was actually robbed in my pharmacy a year ago in
Plugging my phone
2019.
in, sorry. Go
In
ahead.
2019 in August. And I think that was a turning point for me, definitely, of, you know, being in a situation where I was not only, you know, scared for myself because we were, you know, being threatened as if they had a weapon, but also just making sure that, you know, I was going to get myself home, my team home. I had 2 of my technicians there at the moment. And I think ever since that moment, boundaries have been absolutely critical. And I think if you can put some firm boundaries around, you know, what are you willing to accept and what aren't you willing to accept, that will be instrumental, especially as you go through, you know, this process of building your businesses and even just in your personal life too. I mean, that for me was like, wow, you know, this life is short and there's absolutely no point in spending time on things that don't serve me or that aren't you know, part of my goal or what I want to do. Family is absolutely, you know, instrumental to me and super important. But then also just how I spend my time, you know, on a day-to-day basis and what things I like doing or I think are important. That boundary piece is so important because it'll really help you just come back and be like, okay, is it really worth my energy to even, you know, engage with this particular individual? Or, you know, to go down, you know, that rabbit hole worrying, because at the end of the day, it's not really what matters. You are, you know, working on your business, you're trying to create, you know, whatever it is that is your focus area. And I think that's what your time should be spent on and what's valuable versus the one individual that might have, you know, a negative piece of criticism for you.
Right, right. And I love how you started talking about energy and boundaries, because what I picture in my mind, I'm very intuitive, so I see things in my mind's eye. I picture like a bucket of water, and then you start poking holes in that bucket, and your
Yeah.
cup or your bucket is full, and then what's draining your energy? Where are these holes sucking your energy? Whether it's like your own inner critic, or it's your, you know, what your parents are saying, or like we lose our power through all of these energy leaks. And this can be a huge thing that derails people, you know, our fears, our doubts, the things that block us around,
Mhm.
you know, feeling like we're not worthy of success or whatever. That drains your energy, and it doesn't allow you to show up fully as in your magic. And that's really why, you know, I created that Elevate membership, because it's designed to help people to focus, because what you focus on is where your energy is going to go. So having a group of people that can support you and having a monthly focus where you're helping yourself to release things not serving you, like you said, and elevate into that next level, that is key. And I think that brings me to the next point that you and I were talking about before, which is the power of your mind, and how you started working with a hypnotherapist. And you know, everybody knows that's what I do as well. And just how your perspective changed, because I think a lot of pharmacists might have kind of some misconceptions around hypnosis and what that looks like. So if you could just kind of dive into that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So the coaching program that I'm currently in has hypnotherapy as part of the program. And I'll be honest, I was very skeptical at first. I was like, you know, my experiences with it have been, you know, where they bring an individual in and people, you know, start making chicken noises and, you know, all the things. And I have never really just believed in that, you know, sort of thing. It always kind of seemed like a spectacle to me. But
Yeah.
the hypno therapist that was part of the part of the program set me straight, and she's like, no, 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 that
Yeah.
is not what we do here. I'm, you know, credentialed. I went to school, have really studied all of the, you know, components to hypnotherapy, and it's actually a real service, and oftentimes actually is used as an adjunctive treatment to cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT, which is more of like the traditional
Yes.
therapy that people think about. And so, you know, at least for me, I didn't really think that I would actually even be able to be susceptible to it because I never was before, but what I saw before wasn't actually the real thing. So
Yeah.
it's actually, and I think we talked about too, that oftentimes making changes and being open to new experiences can feel very much like ripping up railroad tracks. Like we have one way of thinking, or, you know,
Yeah.
think that things have to be a certain way, or there isn't, you know, enough evidence to suggest that, you know, it's beneficial, therefore I can't ever even consider it. And I think that sometimes that can be a little bit short-sighted because we are human and there's a lot that we don't understand about our bodies, our brains, how things function. And even if, you know, we don't necessarily have all of the evidence for this particular type of treatment, I think there can still be benefits to people if they just open themselves up to new experiences and
Yeah.
new ways of doing things. And for me, it was wonderful. I actually had this never even thought that this would be possible, but you just get in this very relaxed state. And I started seeing colors. I had like purples and blues, and then I had a gold, which really just was symbolic for me of this year in 2021, and just not being afraid to shine and put myself out there and really own what it was that I was doing. Because I'm a Midwestern girl. We don't really, you know, toot our own horn or say anything. Like we stay back in the shadows. So being out front and visible is an uncomfortable thing for me. It's actually something I have to force myself to do,
Yeah.
which, you know, I think goes into that whole piece of like working through those roadblocks, those things that come up. And that's been super helpful for me, and was very nice in terms of just learning a new relaxation technique for myself.
Yeah, and you know, hypnotherapy has actually been studied in a lot of different conditions, like
Mhm.
pre-surgery. They will, like a hypnotherapist will come in and the client is a lot more, the patient's a lot more relaxed. They need less sedation. There's been some studies on that. I mean, obviously, all of the habit change, smoking cessation. You know, with me, I actually saw a hypnotherapist back in I think it was 2009 for my eating disorder because I kept getting up in the middle of the night and binging on food. And after one session, it went from like a 10, like really bad severity, to probably like a 2 or 3. So the power of your subconscious mind and the susceptibility of getting yourself into that state of relaxation and open receptivity, that's where a true change happens. And I've been saying this over and over again in this group. So I'm so happy that you are affirming this, because people need to know, especially pharmacists, that there is so much more out there than just evidence-based, you know, like logical, like there is a whole other dimension out there. And the quantum field and quantum physics and everything is starting to be studied. And I guarantee 20 years from now, people are going to be looking at this and saying, wow, like this is how to help people heal. And that is really what I want to be, the pioneer, and helping people to understand there's another way. And so that's what ties us together, is we are thinking in non-traditional ways. We're thinking outside the box. And I think that's beautiful, because we need to be open instead of just like, oh no, that's not for me because it doesn't make sense. You know, there's so
Mhm.
much more out there that I think we can tap into. So thank you for just, you know, being open and sharing your experience with that.
Yeah.
Because I think so much of it, you know, like I was saying before to you, you can have the strategy, you can have all of the things, but if you keep bumping up against these blocks, because we get programmed from birth to age 7 with all of our foundational beliefs, if you have beliefs that are outdated and old, it's going to show up in your current reality, because it's something that it's like a computer system. Like say that you're using, like it's 2020 or 2021 and you're using a computer program from like 1999. Like that shit is old. We need to upgrade.
Seriously. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And even so I talk a lot publicly about just my husband and my like IVF journey as well. And I
Yeah.
feel like that just came to me because when I first found out that you know, I have a medical condition called low ovarian reserve. So basically I don't have very many eggs left, and the ones that are there aren't super high quality. So it makes it extremely difficult for us to get pregnant. And so when that first happened to me, You know, I consider myself very progressive. I'm obviously very female empowerment and
Yeah.
don't buy into all of the, you know, the things. But for some reason, my first initial thought was like, oh my God, like, why is my body like failing me? Why do I feel like defective all of a sudden that, you know, this one thing that I'm supposed to be able to do biologically, you know, can't happen.
Right.
And a lot of that goes back to that too, of like just thinking about all the things that we see on a daily basis, the messages, the marketing, even just from an epigenetic point of view of just, you know, going through time. And I started doing some research because I'm actually writing a book about IVF, which has turned into just a little bit of a passion project for me, because I feel so strongly about just normalizing the process that, you know, people have to go through, whatever it looks like, to create their own families. And I knew this, but it just blew my mind that my grandmother, who's 83 years old, couldn't even open up her own checking account until a couple years before my mom was born. Like that just was like mind blowing
Wow.
to me. And you know, she was a trailblazer, I think, in her own, you know, right. She said I wasn't going to stay home and have babies. She was going to go to school and get a degree. And I think it's another level of why just having women around you that you can relate to, that you can network with, that you can talk about your stories, share information is so important, because that was instrumental to me in being able to go on and be the first, you know, female in our family to have a higher education degree, a doctoral degree. My grandmother got her master's, which was, you know, a big
Wow.
feat for the family as well. But yeah, there's just so much messaging that we see on a daily basis that can really just make you feel like there's only one path. And that's how we came up with the topic, you know, for this, because there are so many other ways that you can go. You don't have to stay on the yellow brick road, so to speak. You can
Right.
create your own path and, you know, create your own happiness. And I talk a lot about with people of just, you know, you can build somebody else's dream or you can build your own dream.
Yeah.
And I think building my own dream gives me so much excitement and happiness on a daily basis. And I think that's what you got to figure out, you know, what makes you, what drives you, and that'll help move past some of those blocks that can come up too.
Absolutely. Yeah, really. And that's what I always help people with too, because I can kind of see intuitively, like picking out people's gifts and being like, okay, you know, what experiences have you been through? And this is part of what I put in my book too. My most recent book was like, okay, you've been through these experiences, but what is the gift that you can bring to your clients? Because even with you, like you've been through a lot of those really challenging experiences, but how can you use that in service to others, which is what you're doing. You're writing a book, you're speaking about it. Somebody watching this right now is resonating with this deeply. I'm sure a lot of people are. So how can you use that instead of going to more of like, you know, oh, this happened to me, and like thinking the same thoughts and feeling the same feelings? How can you empower yourself to be able to help other people through that? And of course, process the feelings. I'm not saying just cut that off, but there's a
Sure.
lot that can come from, you know, owning that experience and then using it to help other people.
Yeah, and I think it's just really important to be mindful about, you know, each of the experiences that we have. They don't, you know, it doesn't necessarily, not everything's going to be easy, and there are going to be hard things, you know,
Yeah.
in your business and even in your daily life. And I'll tell you, you know, at least with my business, you know, every person that I hire, I tell them, I'm like, it's not transactional for me. Like, this is not just a fee for service. Like, we create a culture with our company. We have
Yes.
a little family, so to speak. I want to know about you. I want to know about your lives, your family. And I pride myself in that, of just creating that that warmth and feeling like, you know, it's a family, because ultimately they're helping me build Banner,
Right.
and do the things that, you know, I wouldn't be able to do, you know, otherwise, without them. So I think that that's also really important. And it goes back to just surrounding yourself with, people that are, that you think are going to be helpful. And whether it's someone just to bounce ideas off of, or like in the case of you and I, just, hey, I saw you were having a bad day, like let's chat, because, and you just
Yeah.
never know where it's going to lead. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything out of like our, conversation. It was just merely a like, hey, I definitely like felt that post and could tell that maybe that would be something that would be hurtful. I know it would bother me. So just wanted to let you know. And, here we are talking, to pharmacists trying to grow their own businesses. So, and I think that's also important too. Don't be afraid to reach out, to have those conversations, to network with people, because you just never know, where it's going to go or where it'll take you.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that really the theme of everything that we're talking about is openness, right? So like be open to new opportunities, to new ways of thinking, to new paths. That's really what the crux of what we're talking about today is. And when you do that, when you open yourself up, just from an energetic perspective, you can receive so much more, because when you're living, and I know this, and I constantly work on this with myself, I tend to kind of like be protective about certain things about myself. And I realize that that's a defense mechanism. That's something that is an old program that has been running my life. And so how do I get myself out of my comfort zone and start networking and connecting to different people? Because that's how you grow. You can't grow by being in this limited space and like, it has to be this way, it has to be that way. When you open yourself up and expand, you receive so much more. You connect more to people. You have new friendships. You have, different people that are there to help you. You can't just be an entrepreneur sitting in your own box. So I think that's really the theme and what we're talking about here for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm one of those high functioning anxiety people. Like I will ruminate over stuff like nobody's business.
Yes.
Like I totally get that. I will think of like every possible like scenario until I make myself crazy. So I feel that 100%. And and that's something I have to work on. I have to, remind myself that, you only worry about the past or, the future, and just to try to be more present, enjoy those moments, and think, that no matter what comes up, I'm going to be able to handle it. So for example, about 6 months ago, we had a very large client that all of a sudden just had to like stop temporarily because they were having some transitions in the company and some things going on. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, so this is like a huge chunk of income for my company. Like I'm going to have to figure this out. I'm going to have to work out paying, my contract writers that work with me. And I think, if it hadn't been for the fact that I had some of these things in place and was in a good place to be able to deal with that, I probably would have been freaking out like, oh my God, what do I do? But it was just very like, okay, I got this. I'll figure it out. It doesn't matter. We'll be able to work through it. And now they're going to start back up with us again after that whole transition period was completed. They made their changes, whatever. So, you're going to have those scary things that happen as an entrepreneur, where moments where you just feel like you're failing, or things aren't going as planned, or what do I do? Because there's no one to go to anymore, because I am the person that people go to. And I think, as long as you can build that support structure around yourself, you can feel confident to just say, okay, this is going to work out. Like, it's not going to be, a deal breaker. It's not going to change anything. It doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong or that I'm not good at what I'm doing. It just means that there was a bump in the road, and you'll find a different path to, navigate around that. And we did. And so, I just wanted to say too, to all of those that are listening, that, being an entrepreneur can be very challenging, just on a day-to-day basis, because you wear many hats and you feel responsible. I know I personally do. When that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I am, I need to replace this for, my pharmacist because they depend on this for, income streams
Yeah.
now. So it's just a different, way of thinking. But ultimately, I feel like, not letting those fears get in the way, and that fear of fear of shame and failure can be really destructive in terms of like creating your business and then, scaling a business. So it's important to be able to work through those pieces too, especially during those difficult times when things come up as well.
Absolutely. What I got, like the image, I guess I'm very visual, was like a tree trunk, and like you have to be that strong oak tree, and then like you have these different branches of like relationships, right? So like
Yeah.
there's a branch, there's a branch. Okay, if one of them falls, well, you still have to have that support structure, and the roots are kind of like your people, like the people that support you, whether it's a coach or a mastermind or whatever support you have. So like it's okay, and everything always works out for me, and having those affirmations and that just internal resilience, I think is what's so important, like you were just saying, to have, because this stuff is going to come up. Not everybody's going to be happy with what you put out or the service that you get. Like I have some people that are like, oh my God, this is the best thing that I've ever done. And then some people are like, okay, and then they just move on with their life. So everybody comes from a different lens and a different perspective. So you have to be able to be so strong in yourself that it doesn't matter if like a branch falls. Okay, well, that's okay, because I have to anchor into myself and into my support system of the people that really support me. So I think that that's so relevant to entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And even just taking care of yourself too, and I think this is also another really important piece is just, if you're anything like me, it's very easy to like fall into that workaholic stage. I mean, I work, 2 full-time jobs, I guess, at this point. And so it became very important once I got to a certain stage, and especially after I got over the like 6-figure stage with Banner, to make sure that I was carving out time for myself to just re-energize, to
Yes.
have that space for creativity and to not just feel tired all the time, or like I just constantly had to do something. And
Right.
I think that was really important as well, just for my own productivity. I found, because I was working a lot, and my coach was like, okay, what are you doing for yourself? Like, do you have any self time? Are you journaling? Are you meditating? What are you doing? And I was like, um, like, you're right, I'm not doing anything. And because of that, it actually was affecting, me being present, my productivity level, just
Yeah.
even how I was feeling on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that's really, really crucial too for any entrepreneur out there. You need to schedule time off for yourself. You need to make sure that you're not just working 24/7. I get it. You get excited, you have all these ideas, all these things that you want to do, but it can be can just feel very monotonous if you don't schedule that time in for yourself and give yourself the space to like just shut down and not think about anything that you have to do.
Yeah. I'm also getting like setting boundaries with yourself, because I'm the same way. And I'm like, okay. And Jessica Louie is very good at this. She's like, oh no, I shut off my time, my email at this time, and I don't respond. Like, she's very good at boundaries.
Yeah.
But also like I'm feeling into the masculine and feminine dynamic. Like if you're go, 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 all the time, and there's no time to recharge, then you're going to experience that burnout and just like brain fog and not really be present, like what you said. So I think having that balance is really important, and that self-care time, or just nothing time, like not having anything scheduled, like
Yeah.
I watch Netflix.
Yes.
My husband always laughs at me, but that's what I do. That's my like relaxed time. So
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that. I love to read, so I'll probably, usually try to find like a book, although I'm one of those people that reads like 3 books at one time, which I know makes some people crazy, but I just get bored easily. But no, I love Netflix too. It's just something to turn your brain off, not think about anything, just enjoy,
yep.
something, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, we went through a lot today. We went through all these topics. I'm actually going to go back and cut the beginning part where I was like, Penny was barking and all that. So you guys will have a nice clean video to watch. So I will make sure to do that. But Brittany, I mean, you're obviously in the Scale Your Side Hustle group, but if anybody's interested in connecting with Brittany, if you want to just share where they can contact you or learn more about you and your course.
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest place will probably be LinkedIn. You can just pop in my name, Brittany Hoffmann Eubanks, and you can connect with me there. You know, I love talking to other pharmacists, so don't hesitate to send me a message. Actually, just let me know you saw our, you know, live chat here in Facebook, or you can even, you know, send me a connection on Facebook if you'd like as well. But LinkedIn would probably be the easier, better area. But yeah, we can talk about the course. We can talk about your interests, you know, anything. If you have questions about, you know, being another female entrepreneur, difficulties. I know Christina, you know, provides regular content for you guys here as well and makes herself available. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and had this, you know, great chat about some of the difficulties you experience in entrepreneurship.
I love it. Thank you so much. And just again, thank you for your kindness. I think that goes a long way. I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. I was like, it was just like this big hug through the internet. So yeah, it was just very much appreciated. And I appreciate what you do and how you help pharmacists to create, you know, a different path for themselves. So thank you so much for your wisdom and just your energy today. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I will see everybody else on the next Facebook Live. And I hope that you guys have an amazing day. Leave us some comments in the comment box below, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. So take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.